Joanne, I wanted to start with you. Obviously, you've worked with Harry and Jack before, seen their amazing writing, so I can imagine it was a very easy decision to say yes. But then when you're presented with this character and this world that she's inhabiting and her kind of journey that she's going through, I mean, it must have been a very easy decision to say yes.
It was, yeah. I mean, it was, yeah. It was just Jack and Harry sent me the script, and I got the first 3 episodes, and I opened Ep 1, and I think I read through all the way to the end of Ep 3, and then was like, "Give me more. What happens? What happens?" So as soon, you know, if and when that happens, you're on board straight away. Because if it's a page turner and I can't put it down, then you know, the odds are the audience will feel the same, we hope.
Yeah, and in terms of Angela as a character, I mean, we could go back over decades about, you know, domestic abuse, and even more so because of the pandemic and everything else. How important do you think this story and all the other stories that we're seeing more so over the last few years, particularly over on television and in films now, that these stories are continuing to be told, and that we're kind of pushing not so much the word out there, but we're getting these stories out for people to actually take notice and take them more seriously than maybe they do?
I think it's incredibly important, you know, to make it part of the bigger conversation, you know, of our communities all across the world, really. And Jack and Harry have this impeccable timing with their subject matters. And again, they've done it again. They started writing Angela Black before the pandemic hit. And obviously during the pandemic, being stuck at home was not a safe place to be for some people. And I think what something like Angela Black does, and what Jack and Harry did when we did Liar as well, is, you know, ultimately it's a piece of entertainment, it's a thriller, it's there to be edge of your seat TV, which it absolutely is. But what they also have is this undercurrent of something really important running underneath. And the fact that, you know, people, couples, families, friends will hopefully watch the show and sit and discuss it afterwards. And some people will be introduced to maybe looking at someone's situation in a different way, or introduced to a subject matter that they may have never thought of or had any empathy with, is really important. And just like you say, that it, you know, has the possibility to open up wider conversation.
Yeah. And Michael, for you, I mean, first and foremost, I feel like you're due a nice light-hearted rom-com after the last few films and TV shows that you've done. Something nice and light-hearted compared to the people that you've played. Also, you've put me off. I don't like flying anyway, but you've put me off flying even more thanks to the Flight Attendant. So thank you. I'll never get flying again.
But that was sort of lighthearted.
It was, yeah, it was quite funny. I did like the kind of the duel between you. So, but in terms of Olivier as a character, obviously, again, you've played similar characters, but what made him stand out, and what made him kind of fresh for you to take on this role?
Well, I think what made it fresh for me is this sort of the world that Olivier lives in. You know, this picture perfect suburban London setting. That was very appealing to me. I thought, you know, it's going to be great to play a character that is so charming and that is so successful. And I thought, I mean, how messed up, but how great would it be if the audience, for a little while, I mean, hopefully longer than the first 10 minutes, thinks, yeah, okay, he's not that great, but he's also not that bad, is he? And they will discover that he is that bad. But I thought that was a great challenge for me to take on.
And Sam, for you, your character, I've only seen little snippets. Obviously, I've only seen the first episode, so there's a lot of mystery surrounding Ed as well. First and foremost, that coat. I must find that coat. Where is that orange coat from? It's pretty.
I want to find that coat, dude. Oh my god, I wasn't allowed to keep this in case you were any reshoots, but damn, you have good taste, Scott. I like you.
I've been looking for a new winter coat, so I have another option now. In terms of you playing Ed, obviously he's kind of, I guess, like a bit of an onion in that we don't know too much about him. As the episodes go on, the layers kind of peel away. For you, I mean, what was the lure of playing someone that was kind of, you know, we didn't really know too much about, that there's a mystery there, and as much as there is a mystery surrounding Michael and Joanne's characters, there's a mystery around yours as well. So what was that like for you?
Yeah, I think that's what really enticed me to the project. I'd worked with Craig, our director, beforehand. And so when he gave me the call and he was like, you know, he wants me to take this one on, I was kind of already on board. And then I'd seen some of Harry and Jack's stuff as well. And I knew they were like excellent writers. But with this character specifically, I think there's always, there's that element of like freedom to create when someone is mysterious and ambiguous and we don't know too much about them. And so I think that's what kind of really drew me in. I was just like, well, I'm always drawn to characters that, you know, aren't necessarily fully on the page, because then it gives me space to kind of interpret and to create. And so, yeah, that was kind of it for me. I was just like, cool, well, we don't know too much about him. I don't know too much about him. Let's get into this and dig deep and try and make sense of it all, even if it doesn't necessarily make sense from an audience's perspective at first. So yeah, I think, you know, when there's so much to play with there's mystery and there's intrigue and there's, you know, that element of who's telling the truth, who's lying. And so, yeah, all of those things together kind of made me feel like the character that I really wanted to take on.
Yeah, it's a fantastic character to take on. Absolutely. Joanne, I wanted to actually say just a quick question to all of you, because we're going to run out of time soon, but maybe I'll chuck it to you first, Joanne. There's so much TV now. There's far too much TV. Do you enjoy the things that it gives you in terms of playing a character? Because sometimes you get 6 episodes, which is longer time than you would get in a film.
Yeah, I think, you know, the longer you spend playing the character, the longer, you know, the greater the attachment, I guess. And certainly with a character like Angela, you know, there's a lot of research involved. So I was trying to get into her headspace for, you know, a good 4 weeks before we started shooting. So the whole process, you know, for me, I felt like I was kind of sitting with Angela for sort of 5 months or something. So, but I think, you know, I think the wonderful thing about 6 episodes especially for a thriller genre is, like you say, there's more time to tell that story. And Jack and Harry have so many twists and turns that they throw at us, and so many different directions that this story goes in. Like, it would have been such a shame to try and, like, you know, condense that into 2 hours. And I think it depends on the story. You know, if the story's there, if there's 6 hours of story to tell, then go and tell it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Is that the same for you as well, Michael? Yeah.
Yeah. And I wanted to add to that. What is great about 6 episodes is that it's still doable for one director to direct all 6. You know, I mean, there are directors obviously that do like whole seasons, like 10 episodes, 10 hours of a show. But I've experienced that too, and I find that that's really tough. But when you're doing 6, it's like making 2 long movies back to back. You know. And for us as actors, it's really great, especially if you work really well with the director, that you're able, which we did, that you're able to work, you know, with one director on a project like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, guys, thank you so much. I wish I had more time to chat to you. I wish you all the best with the show, and thank you so much for your time as ever.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys.
Hey, you guys.
Hey, you guys.
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey, you guys.
Hey.